Hey guys, it's DarkerDweller here, and today I'm bringing you 3 bone-chilling Reddit horror stories. Enjoy. I don't know if this is the place for this, but this is a very strange, unnerving situation. Due to the short improvement in the weather recently, me and my friend went camping. We chose a place near our town. We will not give away the name due to privacy. But it is a forested area near a small river with various campgrounds and bike trails. The path goes deep into the wilderness, where me and my friend, let's call him T, decided to go camping. We drove a good 15 miles into the national forest and set up camp out there. We didn't usually camp out this far, but we were feeling brave. It was only a 2-night trip, and we had all our supplies and enough food, and a nice 1970s camper, just in case it got too cold. It is the kind of camper that is built onto the box of a truck. We were confidently on this trip. We decided to set up camp the first day. We could get a proper fire pit dug since the ground was just unthawing. So we used a small portable grill we brought with us. We set up some lanterns, a few chairs, sat outside drinking beer, and kicked back. Things got strange around dusk, though. Around the time the sun went down, we began noticing occasional red lights and strange, indescribable sounds. Almost like a voice carrying the wind that resounds unnaturally. It is really hard to explain. We have never been out this deep before, but when we also just didn't notice until this point. We were both unnerved, but ignored it until around 10 p.m. Things went from kind of sort of weird to strange and creepy fast. The red lights seemed to pop up and float in the forest around us, only to vanish within seconds. It got more and more intense when in the distance I saw a pair of bright orange eyes, 8 to 10 off the ground, staring at us. We were terrified. We were too drunk to drive out, so we went into the camper, locked it, and went back to sleep. Thankfully, we were drunk. The next day, everything was normal. We discovered something that we hadn't the day before. There was a trail leading off into the woods, where we saw the eyes last night. Despite all common sense, we entered and decided to follow it. She had a rifle just in case we were headed to anything dangerous. The morning was very foggy and bleak, and the trees still had no leaves, giving the forest a very dead, unnerving feeling. The further we went on this path, the foggier it got, until we could only see about 50 feet at most. After roughly 1 mile down this path, we came across a small, dilapidated cabin. It was more like a small shed with windows. It was filled with old boxes and had a huge hole in its floor, leading to a creepy basement where there was also a small fire pit nearby with some buckets and bricks around it. This was a small clearing surrounded by dense bushes. This made us feel uneasy. I noticed something in the grass nearby and picked it up. It was an old cell phone. It looked destroyed. We checked out the SD card and it was fine. We decided to keep it and check it out later. At this point, I noticed a path led further into the woods to my left. We decided against it after finding this cabin. We were pretty seriously creeped out, and we were hearing strange sounds again. We heard movement in the dense foggy forest on our left, and something strange happened. We both sort of blacked out and full-on sprinted back to the way we came. By the time we realized the sun was setting, it was getting dark. We had no idea what happened, but I used my flashlight to illuminate the trail. We jogged back. It was the strangest thing, almost like a short, huge date for 7 or so hours. How did we get here? When we get back to the camp, we decided to stay in the trailer for the night. We had enough outside time for that day. That night, we were having trouble sleeping and decided to smoke some green. As we were smoking, I noticed the red lights outside the window again. I figured I was being paranoid and ignored it. I wish I didn't. After we were done, we went to sleep. T was asleep quickly, but I just couldn't sleep. I had a strange feeling like we were being watched. I listened intently, but heard nothing. The feeling was growing, and I was beginning to feel legitimately scared, almost to the point where I didn't want to look at the window. I hid under my covers, and the sense of dread only rose higher. I decided to slowly peer out at the window. It was at this point I realized that the sense of being watched had evolved to a sense of absolute terror. I slowly looked out from under my blanket and through the camper and the windows. The camper was dark, and my friend was snoring. I looked back at the window. Nothing. At this point, I looked over to my side window. My blood ran cold, and I froze and nearly screamed. The glowing orange eyes had we seen the night before, were peering in motionally. I looked directly at it. These eyes and frozen terrors for 7 minutes. The creature began bashing the door with an impossible force, and I finally came to grabbing the pistol and firing without thinking. A horrible scream rang out, and something, whatever it was, fled. My friend woke up screaming, and I told him everything was alright, but we were leaving. I let him sleep in the camper and got into the driver's seat and started to pick up. To my absolute horror, hundreds of pairs of red and orange eyes appeared when the headlights went on. They scattered. I peeled out of there and drove as fast as I could. When we got back, we checked the SD card. We had found it in the phone near the cabin. It contained some music, some personal photos, and a single video. Hey guys, it's DarkerDweller here, and today I'm bringing you 3 bone-chilling Reddit horror stories. Enjoy. I don't know if this is the place for this, but this is a very strange, unnerving situation. Due to the short improvement in the weather recently, me and my friend went camping. We chose a place near our town. We will not give away the name due to privacy, but it is a forested area near a small river with various campgrounds and bike trails. The path goes deep into the wilderness, where me and my friend, let's call him T, decided to go camping. We drove a good 15 miles into the national forest and set up camp out there. We didn't usually camp out this far, but we were feeling brave. It was only a 2-night trip, and we had all our supplies and enough food, and a nice 1970s camper, just in case it got too cold. It is the kind of camper that is built onto the box of a truck. We were confidently on this trip. We decided to set up camp the first day. We could get a proper fire pit dug since the ground was just unthawing. So we used a small portable grill we brought with us. We set up some lanterns, a few chairs, sat outside drinking beer, and kicked back. Things got strange around dusk, though. Around the time the sun went down, we began noticing occasional red lights and strange, indescribable sounds. Almost like a voice carrying the wind that resounds unnaturally. It is really hard to explain. We have never been out this deep before, but when we also may just didn't notice until this point. We were both unnerved, but ignored it until around 10 p.m. Things went from kind of sort of weird to strange and creepy fast. The red lights seemed to pop up and float in the forest around us, only to vanish within seconds. It got more and more intense when in the distance I saw a pair of bright orange eyes, 8 to 10 off the ground, staring at us. We were terrified. We were too drunk to drive out, so we went into the camper, locked it, and went back to sleep. Thankfully, we were drunk. The next day, everything was normal. We discovered something that we had the day before. There was a trail leading off into the woods, where we saw the eyes last night. Despite all common sense, we entered and decided to follow it. She had a rifle just in case we ran into anything dangerous. The morning was very foggy and bleak, and the trees still had no leaves, giving the forest a very dead, unnerving feeling. The further we went on this path, the foggier it got, until we could only see about 50 feet at most. After roughly 1 mile down this path, we came across a small, dilapidated cabin. It was more like a small shed with windows. It was filled with old boxes and had a huge hole in its floor, leading to a creepy basement where there was also a small fire pit nearby with some buckets and bricks around it. This was a small clearing, surrounded by dense bushes. This made us feel uneasy. I noticed something in the grass nearby and picked it up. It was an old cell phone. It looked destroyed. We checked out the SD card and it was fine. We decided to keep it and check it out later. At this point, I noticed a path led further into the woods to my left. We decided against it after finding this cabin. We were pretty seriously creeped out, and we were hearing strange sounds again. We heard movement in the dense foggy forest on our left, and something strange happened. We both sort of blacked out and full-on sprinted back to the way we came. By the time we realized the sun was setting, it was getting dark. We had no idea what happened, but I used my flashlight to illuminate the trail. We jogged back. It was the strangest thing, almost like a short fugitive for 7 or so hours. How did we get here? When we get back to the camp, we decided to stay in the trailer for the night. We had enough out of time for that day. That night, we were having trouble sleeping and decided to smoke some green. As we were smoking, I noticed the red lights outside the window again. I figured I was being paranoid and ignored it. I wish I didn't. After we were done, we went to sleep. T was asleep quickly, but I just couldn't sleep. I had a strange feeling like we were being watched. I listened intently, but heard nothing. The feeling was growing, and I was beginning to feel legitimately scared, almost to the point where I didn't want to look at the window. I hid under my covers, and the sense of dread only rose higher. I decided to slowly peer out at the window. It was at this point I realized that the sense of being watched had evolved to a sense of absolute terror. I slowly looked out from under my blanket and through the camper and the windows. The camper was dark, and my friend was snoring. I looked back at the window. Nothing. At this point, I looked over to my side window. My blood ran cold, and I froze and nearly screamed. The glowing orange eyes had we seen the night before appearing emotionally. I looked directly at it, his eyes in frozen terrors for 7 minutes. The creature began bashing the door with an impossible force, and I finally came to grabbing the pistol and firing without thinking. A horrible scream rang out, and something, whatever it was, fled. My friend woke up screaming, and I told him everything was alright, but we were leaving. I let him sleep in the camper and got into the driver's seat and started to pick up. To my absolute horror, hundreds of pairs of red and orange eyes appeared when the headlights went on. They scattered. I peeled out of there and drove as fast as I could. When we got back, we checked the SD card. We had found it in the phone near the cabin. It contained some music, some personal photos, and a single video. I recently just moved into an apartment all alone for the first time. I'm still in the same big city, but a new area. I've been here for a few weeks and was a bit late on getting window blinds. The lack of privacy started to get to me, so I finally made a trip to the store. They didn't have any nice blinds that fit my 80-inch windows, so I didn't want to buy expensive, ugly ones if they would be temporary. I opted for the cheapest, but biggest ones I could find. 64 inches was the compromise. I wasn't quite sure how the placement would work, but I ended up just leaving a huge 16-inch gap on the top. When I was installing the blinds, I noticed something about my window that was connected to the fire escape. I didn't have a latch, so the window could quite easily be pushed to fall inward or pulled from the outside. The super in my building also removed the window guards because they aren't necessary if you don't have kids, something I wanted to address, but waited a little too long to do so. I'm a bit of a stoner, so one night when I got home from work and night class, I decided to have a little doobie before I went to bed. I put some music on, started smoking on my bed until my eyes were too heavy to stay awake. Halfway through the night, I wake up from a horrible song. My Spotify shuffle went somewhere it didn't belong. In the whim of doing so, I hear something. It sounds like metal clacking, similar to the noise birds make in this case. I put my phone away and rested my head on the pillow, eyes closed. Suddenly the noise is getting louder, more consistent, like it's getting closer. My small little bird couldn't make those noises even if he tried, especially without him actually chirping. I feel a little paralyzed, not because I'm scared, but because I have no idea what to do. This is my first moment in my home where I have to deal with it by myself, all alone. I can't do it. My body feels heavy. My mind tries to be rational. Maybe it's something outside working or moving around. At this point, the sound has stopped. I'm too scared to raise my head and look around. It can't be anything. Suddenly I hear a tap. My heart freezes, my throat closed. I can't breathe. I think I'm about to swallow my tongue. I have no idea what the noise is, but it sounded personal. It sounded so real it had to be for me. Again, I hear the tap. This time it didn't take too long to be accompanied by another tap. Then again, tap. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted to call my dad. I need to do something. Almost like a complete shock from my mind to my body. I react too quickly and jerk my head up. I stare at my window. The blinds are see-through, thanks to the streetlights right around my window. I see a figure, someone kind of crouching all the way very low. I don't know if he can see me. Can he see me? Again, my body is to move, stuck in the same position like I'm a deer in headlights. I hear another tap, all of them being ever so lightly. My heart is racing, my brain is overheating, my body feels like cramping up. I start to think one hard tap and that entire bottom piece of window is coming out. Oh God, why didn't I call the super to come fix this? Why did I procrastinate? Suddenly the man stands up. The fire escape is lower than my window, so even with his large body, his head doesn't reach the top of my blinds. He turned around, started walking up the fire escape to the next floor. I'm sweating at this point. My bed feels like grave. I couldn't see his face, but I saw the back of his head, completely covered in a beanie that had some kind. It sounded like he moved to the next floor. What am I supposed to do? Am I that much of a coward? Am I going to let this guy go to my neighbor? Is any of this ever even real? Before I could decide what to do, I heard a huge slap on my window. He hit it from the top. I can feel the vibration on every inch of my body. The slap on the top of the window was so hard it forced my bottom window to fall inward. It smashed my rectangular underneath it, causing it to shatter into pieces. I was so frightened I screamed as loud as I ever did before. I screamed and I screamed. My eyes were closed, and I was in the fetal position, completely giving myself up. Suddenly, I hear something I didn't expect. Large knocks on the door. I don't know what came over me, but it felt like it was over. The help was here. Back to reality. I run to open my door and open it. It's my next door neighbor. He sees the window broken, quickly calls 911, and stays with me until the cops arrive. As we waited, we listened to my story, and I couldn't tell, and he didn't believe me at all. Just explained it was, he didn't know this building. It's pre-war stuff like it always happens. That's all it was, just a window randomly falling on its own. When the cops arrived, it was like I was simply reliving the same moment with my neighbor, and they looked at me like I was making up a crazy story to justify being so scared from a window. Except one cop. I could tell he was new on the force just by how long he looked compared to the guys talking to me. Once everyone else finished up with me, the cop had to repeat the same story one more time for me, including myself, thought of doing. He looked at the top piece of the window that was still in place. There was a huge handprint on the window. I remember this day like it was yesterday, and although I wasn't there, it feels like I was. It traumatizes me to this day. Here's some context. This happened when I was 16. I'm 20 now. I was the type of kid that didn't really care about my education. I was typically tardy and absent. It was a Sunday night, and I was debating whether or not I wanted to go to school the next day. I ended up coming to my conscious with myself that I would go. It was Monday, and we all hate Mondays, but I would go just to get it out of the way. However, that Monday morning I woke up with a nasty headache, and I didn't feel like getting out of bed. I told my parents how I felt, and they said I could just stay home, but I would have gone to the school next day. So that morning I stayed in bed trying to get some rest. I ended up taking a couple aspirin to ease a terrible headache. At about 9:15, I get this text from my friend. We're super close and we have about 3 classes together. So anyways, he messaged me saying, bro, don't ever believe what happened. We're in lockdown right now. Apparently somebody has a gun on the campus. I replied, oh no, that's insane. Do they know who it is? He hit me back with, nah, not yet. Everybody here is going crazy though. They're telling us not to panic, but there's a psycho with a gun over here. Will keep me, will keep me posted then, I answered. I heading back to bed, but couldn't sleep thinking about the situation. Had me on edge. I finally passed out and woke up to the vibration of my phone. I read it, and my blood ran cold. Holy crap, man, some classmates got shot up. People were seriously hurt. I haven't heard who specifically yet, but, and the guy who did it, oh, oh no, you won't believe it. I replied with, dang, who did it? Which classes did they shoot? I remember shaking uncontrollably as I read the messages. Mr. Tucker did it, and holy crap, the H classes were hit. Apparently, some kids died. Don't you have classes over there? I'm losing my mind, man. I was so confused. Mr. Tucker, the teacher that was fired the previous week. I then received a text. The cops were in a shootout with Tucker. He shot some cops too. He's dead now. Well, apparently a couple weekends ago, a student saw Mr. Tucker dealing drugs and took a video of it. The student showed the principal the next week and he was fired. I never had Mr. Tucker, but he seemed like a laid-back guy. He never appeared to be drugged up. He had a breakdown when he was told he was fired, and he left angry, cussing out the rest of the staff. I turned on the news to see this incident, but being the highlight, a helicopter cam captured the crime scene. They didn't announce who was injured, who was dead, etc. They evacuated shortly after. The school was closed for several weeks after. I remember 2 days had passed before they announced the victims. As I saw who they were announcing, I started tearing up. I started shaking uncontrollably. I felt so bad. So bad for their kids and their families. I noticed some of the victims were kids in the same class I had. Geometry second period. I came to the realization that I could have been in there. I could have died that day. If it wasn't for that headache, I could have shared the same fate as my classmates. God rest their souls. To this day, that event makes me appreciate my life a little more. It's terrifying. Are you scared yet? Also, before I leave you in the darkness, I'm going to credit Jeff Space, the killer, for the story. We found a phone with a creepy video on it while camping. The first story. His channel link will be in the description. Remember, you never know what's in the dark with you.